welcome to Ascential Experts. My name is Dina ElRayyes. I'm the Global Director of Video here at Ascential. Joining me today is Amiyra Perkins. Amiyra is the Director of WGSN's Mindset, which is their advisory arm, as well as the leader of the Equality Vision Team, which is WGSN's Diversity and Inclusion Initiative. Amiyra, welcome.
Hi, so nice to be here.
Great. So, Amiyra, you have two very distinct roles at WGSN. Can you walk us through both of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, my main role is that I'm Director of Mindset for North America, and that's our consultancy division within WGSN. So, we're responsible for kind of taking all the information that's available on our platform and really making it tailored for our clients. So, understanding their direct needs and then translating it into actionable insights for them. And then when it comes to the Equality Vision Team, what I'm doing here is leading up our efforts. So it's just a huge initiative that we started earlier this year. And what we're looking at is our own diversity and inclusivity initiatives that we can sort of embed into our business in a way that protects not only our talent, but also the work that we're creating.
So how did the Equality Vision Team come about?
I think, like most of the world, when the murders of George Floyd happened earlier this summer, it really put a spotlight on the social injustice that we have, not only in our country, but around the globe. And so, what sort of happened is that we decided that we needed to make a bigger stance and we needed to make sure that we were doing something to create conversation around this and also ensure that people had a safe space to kind of talk about it. In our role, what we wanted to be able to do was create something that would, again, go back to our content. How are we showing up? How are we speaking about different types of people? Are we thinking about what it means for their future? And then how are we creating an environment where our talent can be appreciated, promoted, and even brought into the business in the first place?
And are there specific goals that are associated to the team?
Yeah, so our big thing for EVT is that we live sort of off of three different pillars. So the first one is influence, and this is really looking at our content. So how do we, again, show up to our clients? How do we show up in how we create the content itself, ensuring that we have the right representation at all times? The second bit is what we call improve. So this is really looking at our talent, and this is an initiative that we have in place with Ascential as well as HR, just to make sure that we're really looking at our hiring pool. Who are we bringing in for diverse talent? Also, how are we thinking about people's growth and development within the company? And then our last bit is educate. So I think this is the biggest area that probably requires the most attention, which is just how much do we all have to learn and how much do we have to unlearn about what we've been taught as a society, but more importantly, within our own industries. We know fashion is a key industry that we want to sort of take over and create something better and a little bit more progressive. And in order to do that, we really had to rethink what are our resources that we have available to us to be able to ensure that we're creating the right message and being responsible in how we're doing it.
And back in June, Carla Buzazzi, the MD of WGSN, wrote an open letter in which she asked the industry to judge WGSN by its actions and not its words. What are some of the actions that have been taken so far?
The point of action is that we formed the EVT. So, holding a group of people, around 40 people in the business from all parts of the globe, was the first step. What we did next was create that inclusion glossary that I sort of touched on, that we're actually hosting workshops to ensure that we are thinking about what it means for our business. But then our goal is to actually make it public. So making sure that we have a space on the platform for people, clients, and just people who are interested in what we do to be able to go in and see, oh, this is what WGSN stands for. This is what they're really taking a stance on. And I think probably the biggest pride that we have so far in the business is the fact that we created our Future Makers program. So this is our mentorship program that opened up this year. We actually had almost 1,100 applicants from, I believe, 410 cities and 62 countries, which is just insane considering it's our very first time doing something like this. And we selected 26 mentees, and we have 24 mentors within WGSN. So they're young talent. What's really great about this program is that it's not an internship. It's truly a mentorship. So it's being able to help them create and carve out that space for what they need in order to create the careers that they want. And I think that that's something that just isn't necessarily available to most people. And we're so, so excited about this. And it's a 6-month program. There's a huge curriculum behind it. The amount of work that went into it was really robust, and we're excited about the second class that's going to kind of kick off in the next year. I believe it starts around summertime.
That's amazing. And so from a cultural perspective, how are the individual employees at WGSN empowered to take part?
This is something that we've really taken a lot of pride in. The first bit is that we held our first diversity and inclusivity survey. So those results actually just came out this week. I'm really pleased with what's come out so far. This is really used as the bedrock to how we're going to build out our talent and also what sort of resources do we need in the company. We also hosted listening sessions. So this was a huge part of our improve pillar, where we had BIPOC and Latinx and also APAC conversations around, what does it mean to be like you and your part of the world? What do you need in order to feel like you can show up and be 100% on the job? The other part is we started creating all these different initiatives around how people can show up. So we have a mentorship program, we created an inclusivity glossary, and this is just to ensure that we are constantly thinking about the future of people who are joining the industry and joining the workforce, but more importantly, how are they showing up when they get there? Are they speaking responsibly? Are they being kind and sensitive when they're talking about other types of group of people that maybe, sit slightly outside of themselves? So this is a huge part of just making sure we're constantly holding open conversation around what this means for everyone in the business.
And so there's obviously a lot of initiatives going on at the moment. If we were to kind of look into the future, what's the kind of longer term vision of where you guys want to be and the stance that you want to have as an organization?
The first bit is just responsible representation. It sounds sort of like cliched words, but in reality, not a lot of companies are doing this very well. And this is something that we really want to be able to ensure that we're doing, considering we have such a global presence. So that kind of comes across in our content. And then our Future Makers program will obviously set the tone for how we're going to kind of work with universities and colleges. Are we going to start to kind of play into younger generations and kind of meeting them at elementary schools and kind of lower levels? So being able to kind of create that, but more importantly, is just the public space that we're trying to create. We want people to look at WGSN and not think of us as just beautiful insights and really interesting commentary around what consumers are doing and what they're thinking, but more importantly, how are we showing up to protect those who are unlike us? And we want to create that public space and platform that's truly part of our corporate responsibility.
So you're in a very fortunate situation to work with some of the world's biggest and most influential brands. What are the kind of things that you're seeing from these brands? What actions are they taking around diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, so there's been a huge uptick in conversation around this, which I'm really pleased about. It's a very personal, passionate part of who I am, is being able to hold these kind of conversations. So the biggest thing that we've seen so far is that people are starting to create, brands are starting to create these D&I initiatives and teams. That's the first step. It used to be where you were sort of checking the box, making sure that you had the right people in your business, but in reality, it's about creating that sense of inclusivity and kind of creating that seat at the table. So for us, what we're trying to sort of help brands do is understand where they're at. Not everyone is as progressive, and that is totally okay. But to be able to start the conversation is the first step. The other part of this is we understand for us as we create all of our forecasts that it really starts with the consumer. So the more spotlight that we can put on the fact that there are different types of people in the world, they're looking for you to interact with them in different ways. Not everything is cookie cutter. The better your chances are of being able to attract this type of person into purchasing your product or buying into your service. So what we want to be able to help them with is truly understanding what that responsible representation looks like, and then also creating that space that, are you creating enough opportunity for people that are unlike yourself, or what we've seen as a very sort of Eurocentric approach to design and beauty. And that's something that we're really starting to have massive conversations around. And we know that it could be a huge part of our futures.
So, following on from that, if there was one thing you'd advise brands to do to connect with a broader range of customers, what would that be?
Yeah, so I would say the first step is actually just to connect internally. What do you feel like are your gaps in your business, and what are you missing in terms of kind of creating this space for this new consumer? And then the next bit is just to look to other initiatives. There's a lot of content that's available out there, different pledges, different initiatives that people have taken. There's a lot of podcasts around this, but the first step is definitely looking internally. And then the second bit is, looking to understand where are your gaps in creating that space for that customer. Why are they not coming to you? This is a big reason, and it could be part of your marketing efforts. It could be the way that your tone of voice or the way you're speaking to them. So it's just a really simple change, but just creating that space and letting them know that, not everything that you've created in your business, it has to be, again, so cookie cutter. Like, create a little bit of difference so that people have the ability to discover your brand for the first time.
That's brilliant. Well, Amiyra, thank you so much for your time today. Just kind of wrapping up, if anybody wants to learn more or reach out, what's the best ways for them to get in touch?
Sure. So I forgive us, it's a little long, but you can email us directly at WGSN Equality Vision Team at WGSN.com. And that kind of gives us right to those 40 people that are part of that initiative. And then if you would like to learn a little bit more about our Future Makers program, this is available all over social media. So you can find this on our blog. It's our WGSN Insider blog, as well as we've rolled out all of the talent for the last 5 weeks on social media. So you can find us on our Instagram and our Twitter and our LinkedIn as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dina. So nice to be here.